I am Michael Killen. California and demography are important. My guest is going to say they equal destiny. Destiny for everyone in California, destiny for everyone in the United States. My guest is Jeanne Gobolet, and she's a demographer, and she comes out of Stanford University, and she works for a demography-based company called Lapkoff and Gobolet.
Gobolet.
Thank you for coming on the show. How are you today?
Fine, thank you, Michael.
How come I said California is important and so is demography, and they both equal destiny?
Well, we demographers say demography is destiny. The demographic characteristics of a population shape its behavior. For example, California is becoming more diverse ethnically and racially, and this is changing things like the political landscape.
So that's just California.
Well, everywhere is like that. Everywhere has its own demographic characteristics.
Okay, but isn't California somewhat special when it comes to the United States?
We California demographers tend to believe that California is the leader of national demographic trends.
Now, you said us California demographers, but if I went to Ohio, Florida, New York, and sat down with demographers there, they would disagree with you that California is the trendsetter?
I don't know if they'd agree that we're the trendsetter, but they might agree that things tend to happen here before they happen elsewhere.
Okay. First, I'm going to come back to a point you just made, but I want to ask, how large is California? How big is the population compared to other states?
California is huge compared to other states. We have more than 10% of the nation's population. So 1 out of 50 states has more than 10% of the total population.
So we have 10%, so that means we have
34 million people now.
And the next state in terms of population is?
It's Texas.
And after Texas?
Oh, New York, I think. I haven't actually looked at the numbers.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Florida next?
Perhaps.
Okay. So California has the largest population, and that's important because electoral votes are for the Congress are based on population.
Right.
And you would like California to have more people, so it would be an even more important state?
No, I don't have preferences like that. I just observe the trends and try to explain them and try to understand what the future holds.
Destiny is what California is today in terms of the distribution of people, race, color, ethnicity, all those things. That could be how the rest of the country becomes in 5, 10, 15 years.
Yes, and farther out than that, too.
Give me some idea about the mix of people here in California.
Well, if you look back 30, 40, 50 years, non-Hispanic whites were by far the majority of the population. But in the last decades, the Latino share has been growing in particular, as has the Asian share. But the Latino increase as a number of people in California and a share of the population is the most notable.
And the Asians and the Latinos tend to be liberal, tend to be democratic?
Well, the Latinos do. The Asian picture is more mixed. I think it depends on socioeconomic status or income level. More affluent people are somewhat less likely to be Democrats.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Although there are plenty of rich Democrats.
Okay. Now, California is certainly, in a way, many states, right?
Yes.
I mean, we have the wine area. I mean, that's something into itself. And what is the most Republican conservative part of this state?
The more rural parts of the state today tend to be the more conservative areas.
And what about the southeast part of this state?
Well, there's one congressional district in the southeast, extreme southeast, that is Republican, and a few others in the southeast, but the northeastern part of the state is highly Republican as well. If you look at the distribution of Democrats and Republicans geographically, you can really see that the Democrats tend to live in the more urban areas.
And those are the inland parts of the state, is that right?
Well, the Los Angeles area, for example, is on the coast, but it's pretty liberal, and so is San Francisco, and it's very much a coastal city.
But the Republicans and conservatives, they're inland. Would that be correct?
There are some exceptions, but yes.
What about the Imperial Valley and the Imperial, what do you call it, state or island?
The Inland Empire?
Yes.
That's San Bernardino and Riverside counties. That I looked at who they have elected to Congress most recently, and it's a mix of Republicans and Democrats.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, you specialize in school boards?
Well, we specialize in things that are related to schools and smaller governmental jurisdictions like public school districts and cities and counties and special districts.
All right, we just had a census, and the data is just coming out right now. What impact does that data have on school boards throughout this state?
School boards and city councils and boards of supervisors and other special districts need to use census data to evaluate whether to change their internal election districts if they elect representatives by single-member district rather than at large.
And single-member districts are, if I have a district and it has 5 different areas in it, people in one area vote for one trustee, one board member, another district votes for another. That's single district. And
yes.
At large is the entire district votes for 5 or 6 or 3 people. That's what it is?
Yes.
And these districts get changed, redefined based on what?
Census data, because of the one person, one vote requirement, also called population equality requirement. So when members of the governing body are elected by single-member district, the federal law states that each of the election districts needs to be 1/5 or 1/7 or 1/9 of the total population of that jurisdiction.
Okay, so this is becoming an important issue or development for city council, for county officials, for school boards, and for people who care about who runs or who influence their schools.
That's right.
Okay. And in this state, is there anything especially stands out about the differences between school boards? Do you find school boards that are very aggressive in managing their area and others aren't? Or what's the big difference between these groups?
Some school boards tend to do what critics call micromanage, and they pay attention to very fine levels of detail rather than setting policy.
Okay, I want to ask one more question. Tell me, how does a demographer think? What's the main characteristics of? Because you think differently than I do, I'm sure.
We think about what kinds of trends there are in population and what causes those trends. Are populations growing? Are they becoming more diverse? Is the age structure changing over time, or the ethnic mix changing over time? And what causes the change, and what will be the consequences?
All right. And say the name of your company.
Lapkoff and Gobolet Demographic Research.
I want to thank you. You helped me gain a lot of understanding about what's going on and what destiny really is. Thank you. My guest was Jeanne Gobolet. She works for demography.com.